The camera you film with makes you a better videographer.
I've seen really cool videos that people have shot on cell phones.
The gear doesn't necessarily define how well you can execute the vision.
I've only ever bought 2 cameras, but I felt like my work improved.
Having gear that challenges you can make you develop as a person.
I don't think it makes you like a better videographer or not, no.
Hopping on videography trends keeps you relevant in the industry. 3, 2, 1.
I think it's important in the sense, like if we're doing TikToks, you know, like you want to stay on trend with that or to gain virality with that.
I don't know, I feel like when I see everyone doing trends on like TikTok reels, like specifically for videography stuff, not like other stuff.
Yeah.
It's so repetitive and it's so dry, like it's beating a dead horse. I'm like, when I see something different for the first time, or like I see someone doing something new, I'm like, that's inspiring to me. Like, I don't know, when I see like, the same techniques over and over, I'm like, it's getting tired, you know, like let's switch it up, try something new, but.
Damn, you've definitely seen those TikToks that are like, God damn, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
I think there's so many trends in the film and music industry, and it's up and down. So I think if you're constantly chasing to hop on those trends all the time, it's like, it takes away from your artistic style. And I also think there's no longevity there. Like if you were to blow up for following a certain videography trend, like I remember when, was it Sam Colder had like the turquoise orange style,
yeah,
like that was
teal,
up,
teal
and now,
orange.
yeah, now
I have
no one
that
uses
pack,
it.
plus all the other
Same.
like, creator effects bundles, it's not just me, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and like then Blotter Media did something, like everyone has these trends and then they die off so quick, so I don't think it keeps you relevant. I think it can, if you use it as leverage, like it'll blow you up and then you figure out your own thing and continue that momentum, sure, but no, I don't. I don't think so.
Agree with I'm actually going to move here north, but I agree with everything. But
Chilling.
I think it does like what you were saying with TikToks and reels and all that kind of stuff. If you're making content, so to speak, definitely it keeps you or your brand or whoever you're doing those for relevant. But like what you were saying with people are going to get tired of it. They're going to get jaded. They're not going to, you know, it's going to get bored and it's not going to elevate you. You're kind of just going to stay there and just keep doing that and get stuck in that cycle of what's the next thing I have to follow and do that somebody else came up with.
Artists should always credit or tag videographers in their work. 3, 2, 1, go.
I'll go first. So I think that artists should always credit videographers in their work. I think we're the backbone of a lot of their creative visions, and it helps our careers when they do that. The reason I'm not at the beyond degree like line is just because sometimes, like I've worked under an agency or filmed for a festival where you're like shooting a bunch of different artists. They're not technically required to tag you. So that's like the only exception. Otherwise, yeah, you should always tag a videographer.
Well, I think when you usually think about credit, you're like, okay, I should be in that tag, in that Instagram post, or like on that like whatever post of music video or what have you. As long as like they're actually acknowledging the fact that like you were a part of the process, even if it's not even in the post, just general credit. That's what I'm thinking about. I think that's super important because you were a part of that vision. You were a part of just from point A to point Z. Because without yourself or whoever was a part of that creative team alongside the artist, then like that vision would be dismantled, you know? So.
Yeah, I think credit could be small or large. Like it could be something as simple as just tagging someone in the video, like not even in the description.
Yeah, just super,
like
yeah.
Even acknowledging someone's existence that like put their blood, sweat, and tears into like something that is for the artist, right? But it could even be like larger as like, you know, word of mouth or like telling like their like other artists, you know, like I don't know. I think we get overlooked a lot for the work that we do, but I get why it doesn't exist. But it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of a shame.
That should be kind of changed in a way. Like I get it. Like there's certain agencies and certain like
brands.
They're like, oh, like you know, we want to make it clean. We want to make it look clean. So like we just want to post the video and like just let it be. Like but what about us?
Yeah,
You know, like let's actually change that.
Yeah.
So
I think it's beyond like videography. It's like the stylist, like
Yeah.
photo, makeup, hair.
that too.
Yeah.
Like
All
I think
departments.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like you see an artist and it's like, okay, cool, you know, Drake's walking down the street, but like little do you know, he's wearing like an underground brand that no one
Yeah.
knows about, or
That's
it's
true.
Yeah.
the photographer that took the photo. Like next year he's gonna be huge because Drake tagged him.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like
Yeah.
I think it's also like a personality thing and putting people on out of your own goodwill
Yeah,
too.
100%.
So
I like that a lot. Like putting people on, like that's something that
Yeah.
I think like we overlook, and like it's easy to kind of like make it all about yourself. But if you're bringing people up with you, that's so much more important than just like being all about yourself. In my eyes, I don't know if you guys feel
Yeah.
the same way.
Yeah.
But
it's like a team.
yeah,
It takes a team.
yeah, you can't do it
Yeah.
alone.
yeah. So behind the scenes, you don't know what their come up is. Like maybe it's just that one post or that one interaction that was kind of like made public or kind of word of mouth that oh, that's dope. Like I want to be with that person. I want to work with that person. But if they don't know, then like that's an opportunity lost.
I agree with everything everybody said. I think it's funny, like you see at the end of like a movie, for example, every single person who had anything to do with that is credited there. So because social media, for example, is such a big part of everything now, it should almost be the same, where everybody who had something to do with it is there. But I also agree with what she was saying, where like, yeah, in some cases it's hard to make sure that actually happens. So I understand that. I don't agree that it should happen like that, but I get it.
Networking is more important than talent. 3, 2, 1, go.
I can stay here, right?
Yeah, that's
I'm staying here
neutral.
too. You're good.
Oh, man, let's go.
I hope we can.
Why are you staying there?
Okay, well, I'm at a conflict here. Like networking. What was the question again? Networking and talent.
Networking is more important than talent.
I don't know. I feel like, in my opinion, like I've only been in the city for a couple of years, and like I didn't know anyone when I came here. And I think my talent got me to the level of meeting people in my industry, like being here today. So I think you kind of have to have a bit of both. Like it's definitely like a push and pull for both, right? You can't do everything alone, and then if you don't have the talent, like I don't know why you're pursuing it. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
There's so many people that do so many different things, especially like what we do. Like there's 5 of us here, but there's hundreds, more that aren't here in the city. And so networking, we're selling. A lot of it is not just selling our talent, our skill, our portfolio, but we're selling us. A lot of people I work with me because I'm who I am. They like me as a person, and I'm sure it's similar with all of you guys as well. And you build those relationships, but there's an extent where you do have to be at least decent at what you do to be able to maintain that. So I think it's very much sort of, I think they're pretty equal.
I mean, I kind of want to move back here now, but I think networking is really important in a sense that there's a lot of circles that sometimes, unfortunately, I feel like you need to kind of break into to work with certain people, but I do think it's about putting yourself out there, and then afterwards they'll want to work with you if they see your work, like what's the quality of your work, who are you as a person. So I don't know if I think it's more important than talent, but I do think it's just as important because it's such a competitive industry. There's a million people doing what we all do. It's like the difference is really, I think in some ways, like how much are you putting yourself out there? Are you like cold emailing artists and labels to try to film for them? So I'm gonna stay here, but I would say I think it's pretty equal.
I feel like probably 95% of the work I've gotten is through networking. Being here, being in a different city versus my talent, or it'll be like that networking opportunity. And then I'm like, hey, I do video. Do you want to see it? And they're like, oh, it's actually cool. So I feel like there's steps to it, but for me, I feel like most or almost all my work has been through networking.
Yeah, like I think just networking essentially for me, like the definition is like putting yourself on, and kind of like what Dakota said, like majority of like the first couple of gigs that I got was just like literally asking like, hey, like I don't care about the money, I don't care about anything, I want to shoot. This is what like what I'm working with, and kind of showing off your personality and like your enthusiasm and just how hungry you are kind of gives them that lasting impression.
Female videographers are taken just as seriously as their male counterparts.
Right? Oh, this is my outer frame.
Yeah, like,
How
if we
far
get
can
there.
we go?
You're just gonna walk out
Can I
of the
keep
studio at
going?
this point.
Just off screen.
I only started about 2 years ago, 1 or 2 years ago. And for me, I feel like I've had to work a lot harder for the opportunities. With networking, it's been easier being a girl, which is kind of sick in that sense. But actually being able to shoot the big artists or have the roles that I want to, I feel like it's not as easily being respected. As well as when I'm on set shooting, I have to really make it clear, you know, like, I'm sure Sabine, you know, as well as like, we're here to work, and that's really it. There's no hidden agenda from that. There's that, and then also the discredibility that I get from men. No one here. But yeah, just the discredibility also, like, oh, you didn't do that, or that didn't happen, or you only got this role because of A, B, and C. Or like, you must be, like you're shooting this artist because you're doing this for them. It's like, no, that's not how it is.
I noticed that a lot when I first started, because I didn't post like my face or anything on my Instagram when I first started. It was just my concert work. So every time I would pull up, they would think a dude's pulling up. Then I would pull up and they'd be like, oh, you're the videographer? Okay, so like that assumption was always weird for me, but I had to go through it like more than once, especially when I would cold email or whatever it was. And then I also felt like, I felt a lot of the time I was taken less seriously, even in terms of pay or like just wanting to kind of be more vocal. And then I'd see like the other, because there would be more than just myself, but I definitely felt like I was getting the back end of things. And then there was always like this assumption of that there's some ulterior motive to why you're filming. Like, you got this because maybe this person wants something, like something
it's
weird
too good
like
to be
that.
true. Or like,
Too good to be true, and I didn't like that. And I think that that I definitely agree that we do get taken less seriously, but I think the more of us that start to get our names out there, hopefully that'll be like a pivotal point for all of us. That's kind of what pops up.
Yeah, I think personally, in my experience, when I came to Vancouver, I started working like as BTS for a like female videographer. So I think like that, maybe that's why I have a different answer than you guys, because like I was already learning from her to start with. So I feel like the bar for her, like for me, from her was like up here. So I was trying to reach that bar, right? So I think that's why I'm maybe here, not there from my own perspective, but I do see that from your perspective, why that would make a lot more sense for sure.
Yeah, I'm here because like, there's a lot that I've seen just from my experience, like when I'm working with other female videographers or creatives, but there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that we don't even know as guys. So like, I can't even, who knows, maybe they're actually a part of these productions, but they're not credited. Like they're actually like being taken seriously, but like they may not be like in the credits, or like you don't even know like they're actually a part of it.
I don't like being known as a videographer. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, I don't.
Got thrown off a little bit there.
Agree.
This
This
is the
is the
agree
agree.
side, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was
That tripped me
look
up
up
for a sec too.
Well, I guess why I came here is because I feel like I started out my career as a videographer, but I've transitioned more to director of photography, just out of nature of growing. And I think like, to people that don't know the industry, I still get called like, they ask me like, oh, like, what kind of videography do you do and stuff? I'm like, it's not that, but I get why the confusion is there. But I feel like it's also discrediting in a way to go like, yeah, you just throw a camera on a gimbal and just walk around and shoot. It's like way more technical than that, you know? So that's why I don't like being called just a videographer.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar. Yeah, we all do, especially like with a lot of the jobs we work on, is we're all doing a handful of different things. And not only that, but in our own projects and whatnot, we're doing so many different things that sort of confines us into one smaller area and almost takes away from all of the other things that we're doing. But to people who don't necessarily understand or know that, they might even see all of those things in that, under that umbrella. So it's kind of a hard line to walk.
Yeah, I feel like people don't even know what videographers are. Like, because I remember I did videography to get into directing, and when I started to try to switch that label, it was automatically like, she does videography, she's a videographer, and I'm like, but I do more than that. And it was hard to kind of be labeled in that box, but it just depends where you see your career going. Like, maybe that is what you want to be labeled as, and that's what you want to do full time, but I think it does confine you a bit because we do so much more than just, like, we're kind of like creative directors too, and so yeah.
When they say videographer, it depends on the context. Like if they're saying in the means of like trying to put you down, then like that's not okay, because they think that like you're just confined to just like, oh, you just have a camera and you can just kind of just run and gun. Like you're not like a filmmaker. You're not like that person has like those big rigs and like crazy production. Like videographer's like below that. So, but if they just call you a videographer for the sake of like, okay, that's what it looks like what you do, then that's fine. But it's just sometimes they just say that just to kind of discredit your work and your capabilities as a creative, which is technically what we all are.
The amount of times I've been told like, oh, you're just a videographer, you just hold the camera and press record.
Yeah.
Like,
why don't you grab my
all
camera
right.
and press it yourself?
Do it then.
God damn.
Here, take it.
I'll find someone else who's cheaper and do it. Yeah. You love that line.
Yeah, but no, to add on to what you said, it's more than just the videography aspect. There's so many different things with the creative direction. There's the lighting, there's the set design, there's making sure, you know, everyone is happy or if there's a different emotion during the video. So we don't just press record.
Yeah.
Artists or clients should have the right to final cut over the video you film. 3, 2, 1.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it depends on the pay, but that's not right.
I like that.
Is it within the
That's
pay
actually-
grade or not?
Yeah,
It's
like
not
how
even-
much are we talking? It depends. Like when it's an artist and we're doing a music video and it's collaborative and let's say it's either super low budget, or when I was starting a lot of it was for free, I think you should be able to have that creative like expression and both should be on the same page. But sometimes when you're just contracted or you're, I don't know, there's budget, you're doing your thing, you have to kind of go with what the client wants, even if it takes away from your creative vision. But that's why I like to do like my own cuts, and that's kind of where I get to express it. So do I think they should have it? It's, I don't know, scenario based.
That's kind of why I was like in between. I was like, depends how involved like the artist or client is in the whole visual or process, right?
Yeah.
Like I've had artists that are like right there beside me the whole time, like looking at everything, or like they're just not even at the shoot. And you kind of like, that way you kind of figure out like, okay, like how much do they actually care if I just make my own cut, or like if they have a say in it, right? But I think for the most part, like definitely like it's good to run multiple drafts by them to like make sure they're happy with it. But I try to like use my judgment to like sway any decisions that just don't make sense from them, or like just sounds kind of whack. So yeah.
Yeah, I think they should be a part of it from the very beginning. So that way, like when you're deciding on that final cut, it's not so much of like, oh, like this is like the 7th draft, what are you doing? Like, what are we really doing? That's been like way too many video drafts. So if you guys are on the same wavelength and you guys are just know exactly, like the artist knows what they want, or the client, then it just makes it so much easier when you're trying to convey what you think is best, and they can kind of just adjust it based on like what their vision is. So just make it easier for yourself by really communicating with them in the beginning, is what I'm saying.
Feeding off of you, it's like, it's getting that mood board, it's getting that contract and everything written out, so it makes it easier, so that you don't have to do like as many cuts. And also you said with the pay.
That goes alongside, because like
Yeah.
I cap it at like 2 or 3. Like if like we're like, you know, we're really like on that wavelength, okay, maybe a little extra one.
3 is for sure, yeah.
Again, it's just based on like the environment.
But at the end, it's like, it's my work, but it's also for them.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think there's that 50-50.
Yeah.
And there has to be a mutual trust. Like, I trust them, they trust me
Yeah.
with the money, with the contract, with the money.
$500 is enough to make a good music video.
Going even further.
I think it's just a. I don't know if you're gonna say anything.
I've seen great music videos that $0 were spent on, unless you count the gear that they used. But like showing up day of or whatever and spending nothing, I've seen really, really good music videos that people have spent very little amount of money. Depends on your. It's very subjective too, of course. Like, what is great to you is going to have a lot to do with your answer. But I've seen some where I'm like, that's awesome. That especially that they did that with just showed up and did it. Of course, budget helps a lot, but I think you can do it without one.
I was at first there. I'm like, it's very circumstantial because it's really a true test to how creative you can be. But then, at the end of the day, like it's either you're really investing into that artist or into that thing that you're doing. You're like, okay, I know for sure it's gonna pay off. So it's that like high risk, high reward kind of thing. So it depends on your situation. Like if you can really afford to like accept those kind of gigs, then that's great. But if not, then like that's also totally fine too. Because you know, if you don't have the means to really like, if you're not confident enough to be able to do that, then you shouldn't push yourself. So that way, like you'll kind of start feeling not as confident to do the next project that's like maybe more money, but then you're like discouraged from that previous project that was 500, right? Or it doesn't have to be 500, but just low, not to the budget.
I think for me it depends like on the project, right, or the vision at least of the project. Like if it's like just me and the artist, we're running around town doing our thing, like yeah, $500 is more than enough. Like I have all my gear, like we can make it work. But if they start throwing me ideas of like bringing other people on to do something, like to work or to act or whatever it is, I'm like, we need more money. Like we got to pay people like the fair wages, right? Like I don't know. I would do it on my own, but I wouldn't bring in someone to basically do it for free or like for pennies because it's not fair to them unless they wanted to for like experience. But like I wouldn't go out of my way to bring someone on for that much.
I would say $500 sounded like a lot for a music video when I first started, but now it depends on the vision. Like I think the way I used to justify it, because I would do for 200 when I first started, and I think it was just a matter of like, I want to build my portfolio. I'm a one-man show, I'm filming, I'm editing, like you're doing everything yourself. If it's outdoor, you're not spending budget on studios, and like, it's like, okay, cool, we're gonna do 2 hours filming and then 3 hours in post. I think 500, you could justify it in that sense, but I don't think it's enough because I think the more you expand your team, there's so many expenses. A lot of the time, there's expectations you should lay out in the beginning because artists will come to you and be like, we want this extravagant setup in here, and I'm like, that itself costs like $3K. So
like
we gotta decide here what we're gonna do. So I think setting the expectations and then just knowing that, also knowing your worth. Like I think we can all charge much more than 500 because it's depends. If you're just filming, like you are just being hired for 4 or 5 hours to film and you don't have to edit and you don't have to do anything, I think, yeah, cool. But if you are doing all of it, then no, I think that's not enough.
Yeah, it varies.
I think a lot of artists or clients don't really understand what 500 could get them. In that sense, where I've been on the production sites that you've produced or directed yourself, and it's a way bigger budget than $500. You're putting so much thought into it. So there's that part where I definitely agree with what you guys were saying. But then also the artists that are the smaller artists and they're part of the underground or something, and they only have up to $500 to spend. Yeah. But it's like those videos are the ones that make them go viral, and then next thing you know, they're famous. So circumstantial.
Most people don't even know like what the budget is. They just see the video.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, damn, that's crazy. And like maybe most of the budget was given to the editor. Like the editor just really blew up the entire video from just
Yeah.
from that like couple of shots and takes, and bam, it's like 5 million views or some shit. Like it's
It's
crazy.
true.
The camera you film with makes you a better videographer. 3, 2, 1.
Let's start with you.
Yeah,
I think like being better at what you do doesn't have to be tied to the quality of it. Like it's the vision and it's the way that you go about doing what you're doing. I've seen really cool videos that people have shot on cell phones, and really cool that they've shot on cinema cameras. So I think it's sort of just, it's more of a vision thing rather than a quality thing.
I've only ever worked with 2 cameras like myself. I've only ever bought 2 cameras. And so maybe, again, it's with the experience too, but when I got my newer one, or my improved one, maybe it was my confidence also, but I felt like my work improved and everything.
I think for me, when I think about becoming better, like in my role, having gear that challenges you can make you like develop as a person or whatever it is, right? So I don't know, I feel like I've worked with like the shittiest of shitty cameras, like starting out, and now like I've got my hands on like better cameras, and like I've learned so much just about like proper like exposure or like colors or anything like that from using like the better cameras. I think it just makes you better like understanding, not necessarily better at like filming, you know what I mean? So,
I definitely think it's who's behind the camera than what camera you're shooting with, because I've seen people, or like even when I started with the A6500 and the footage looked horrendous. But then when I learned how to like, okay, I learned about S-Log and exposing properly and like picture profile and all that, then it looked amazing. So I do think it's a matter of like who's behind the camera, do you know how to operate it, do you know like the ins and outs? And then I do think at some point in your career, if like you want to enhance the quality, like you've really mastered what you have, then yeah, getting a better camera could do that. But I don't think it makes you like a better videographer or not, no.
Yeah. Well, for me, I think like knowing how to go about creating something as well as having like the gear, they go alongside with each other, but I don't think it necessarily, like the gear doesn't necessarily define like how well you can execute the vision. But I don't think it's like, oh, like it's absolutely just your creative vision. Like, of course, you need to have the gear to at least be able to have the output. But you should never be halted by like, okay, like I don't have the gear that someone else has. Like I still have like what's in here, and you know, use your inspirations as well as like what you have.
Shooting for big artists or companies has given me a bigger ego. 3, 2, 1.
I'm gonna go in the middle of these two.
Are y'all just gonna chill in the middle?
I'll pick one. I'll go here.
I'm gonna go here.
You go first.
I'll go
Yeah,
first
you're
because like,
the-
I'm wondering what his answer is. So I'm technically referring to like when I first started because I just started from the ground up, like literally not knowing exactly like what professionalism was or like what was expected when you're in that field. So whenever I got like that one client, it's like, damn, like this is crazy, like I'm up. And then I'm like, okay, this is actually kind of embarrassing myself because I was super like emotional based on like if they didn't want to do what I wanted to do. Like I was like, oh, like I'm the creative, so like you should be listening to me. I was doing a lot of that, and I definitely got checked, and I'm glad I did, because if you don't have that, either a mentor or someone who can really tell you like, dude, like you need to slow down and just really think about exactly like what your goals are rather than just chasing something that's not really you. So I'm glad that I went through that, which is why I'm here. But right now I'm definitely cognizant of exactly like, you know, your actions, you know, have consequences.
I think it's natural for anyone, if you're working with, you know, the biggest artist of the century, to have a bit of an ego or for it to boost your ego a bit. But in turn, that's also confidence that you can increase, and, you know, knowing your worth also I feel like is huge when you're working with a bigger artist or company, and then you're able to reflect like, okay, like I deserve this now, or I deserve this pay, or I deserve like this respect. This respect, not disrespect. And I don't know, I feel like for me it's, I like to think I'm trying to be humble, but it's like at the same time it's like, hey, like I just did this, like I want people to be happy for me, I want to be happy for myself, and I would never want someone to rain on my parade or kind of tone down my own talent or my own confidence with that. But again, what you're kind of saying with the past as well, but just being able to keep that humbleness, but have that confidence, like let that feed into your ego a bit. Like you deserve it, you've worked hard. We've all started from the bottom, like you said. So feed into that, but remain humble.
I think for me, it's less of an ego thing and more of a pride thing. So when I get to work with people that, if I'm a fan of them and I get to work with them, I feel more proud of myself that I, like out of everybody who could be doing this, it's me here right now. And that makes me really proud because yeah, we all start with a little cheap little camera or whatever, and then now we're, you know, here doing whatever we're doing. And the fact that, yeah, out of everybody that could be doing this, especially the bigger names where they have access to essentially whoever they want, and then, you know, I'm the one in the room doing this. I'm the one they're looking at and hearing, you know, oh, what angle or whatever, what should we do, this, and I get to kind of be the one doing that. And I think that is, you know, I look in the mirror, I'm like, that's cool. I'm proud of you for being that person. So less of an ego and more of kind of uplifting that sense of pride and accomplishment.
Yeah, I like that different take.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm on the same line. Is like it's building my confidence. I want to switch ego with confidence, right? Like ego is one thing that I feel like can ruin how people see you, but confidence like is just like people look at that and go like, oh yeah, he knows what he's doing or she knows what she's doing. They're comfortable. Like when you get to bigger jobs, the more confidence you have, like the better, obviously. So I think that's why I came to this side mainly.
Cool.
Well, I'm the only one down here, but I think my perspective is like when I started and I would film for certain artists, some people I would try to reach out to for like mentorship. It felt like they thought they were much better than me because they had shot for all these big artists. So I think for me, the bigger artists that I filmed for didn't boost my ego. Like it didn't make me feel like I was better than anyone else around me. And it didn't like, I think it gives you a sense of confidence, which is great. And you need that. And like you said, to know your worth and how much to charge and whatnot. But I also think it depends on your social circle. Like if you're around a lot of yes men, quote unquote, then like I could see how that could boost your ego. But I have a very like humbling circle. So I feel like know your worth, have the confidence, but I don't think it should boost your ego in a sense that it makes you like think that you're above everyone or better than anyone. So I think that's why I'm here,